Our fear does not mean that this is not time for us. In fact, this fear means even more than ever, this is our time. It is our time to build for other people so more stories can be told. But for now, it is our time, and it is your time. And to help you get to this, I want to introduce my friend and my colleague, Eduardo Placer, from Fearless Communicators.
Please welcome to the stage Chief Story Hero and founder of Fearless Communicators, Eduardo Placer.
The sea-level gay has landed. It is January 17th of 2025, and I land at the Vail Airport and I take a selfie and I upload it to the WhatsApp thread for the wedding that I am co-officiating in Meredith, Colorado. Elevation 8,000 feet, somewhere in the mountains between Vail and Aspen. Now my running joke to everyone at the wedding is that I'm a sea-level gay. I am not a homosexual that thrives at altitude. I come from a warm water, beach, sand people. And the only bears I have interest in coming into contact with have beards, biceps, and bellies. So I then text my partner, and I text my mother, let them know that I've arrived safely. And then I make my way to the car rental to get the car that's going to take me up to this mountain destination. And it's a RAV4 all-wheel drive. And there's been talk about polar vortex, blizzard snow conditions. But I'm optimistic and hopeful for this adventure, and I plug the address into Waze, destination set, and I'm on my way. And I'm very clear about the destination. I'm sure like many of you, since November of 2024, my nervous system has been on fire. I have been craving a retreat, and the promise of this mountain escape with beloved friends, with nourishing food, is just the type of retreat that my soul is screaming for. Now, there's also some urgency because the couple haven't finished their vows and they're getting married tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So there is some definite urgency, and I'm on my way, and as I'm driving, I notice that the road that I'm on is very remote. There are very few gas stations or houses, and after about 20 to 25 minutes, as I pass through this space, I realize that I come upon this sign. And the sign says, "Road impassable when wet." Now the sea level gay thinks to himself, is snow wet? And it seems like this is the path. This is the road that Waze is giving me, so I choose to proceed. And I go through this barrier. And as I'm driving at this point, I notice that the road is shifting. And the car is moving slower. And as I approach this incline, I put both of my hands on the steering wheel as the car starts to skid, and I start sliding into this embankment on the right side of the road, and on the other side is a ravine. And as I get lodged, I press the accelerator and the wheels keep spinning, and I press the accelerator and the wheels keep spinning, and then it looks like I'm stuck. And I immediately think of a 4-letter word that rhymes with stuck. It begins with F and ends with uck. And then I feel the heat rising through my body as I direct self-rage at myself, saying things like, "You effing sissy sea-level gay." Of course, you know, all the lyrics to How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria, but you're completely and totally lost in this pickle. And I have this image of my Cuban father lecturing me about how men, real men, know how to solve car stuff. And as a child, I would roll my eyes, and I would go back to staging elaborate productions of A Chorus Line in Evita on my Parcheesi game board. This is clearly the road to the wedding. If I can just sit and wait, surely someone's going to come and help me. Now, I have an irrational fear of being stuck with nothing to do. So I have 3 books and 9 New Yorker magazines that I haven't read. So I have plenty of entertainment. And I grab The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, which is a book that I'm reading. And I choose to read and wait. And after about 20, 25 minutes, no one comes. Fine, I'll try to do something to get myself out of this pickle. So I look around the car and I notice that there's a snow brush thingy. What if I brush the snow from around the tires? Maybe that will provide the traction to get me unstuck. So I step out of the car, I press the fuiki, which is what Cubans call the automatic car lock. I put it in my pocket, I leave the door open, I grab the snow brush and I brush the snow from the tires, and I look at my work, and I am very satisfied. I step back into the car, I close the door, I turn the ignition, I step on the accelerator, nothing. Strike one. I sit, I read, and I wait. And then another 20 minutes pass, and still no one. So I look around and I see, oh, the rugs, the mats in the car. What if I put these in front of the tires? Maybe this will create the traction that I need to get unstuck. So I step out of the car, I press the fuiki, I put the keys in my pocket, I leave the door open, I grab the mats, I put them in front of the tires, I look at my work, I am very, very satisfied. I step back in the car, I close the door, I turn on the ignition, I step on the accelerator, nothing. Strike two. After another 20, 25 minutes, there's still no one. And I look at the side of the mountain and I see that there are all of these rocks. And I think, well, if I can get these rocks, I can put them in front of the tires, and maybe that'll provide the traction that I need to get unstuck. So I step out of the car, I press the fuiki, I put the keys in my pocket, I leave the door open, I grab the rocks from the side of the mountain, and I put them in front of the tires, creating a little pathway. And now I am very, very, very satisfied. I step back in the car, I close the door, I turn on the ignition, I step on the accelerator, nothing. Strike three. And as I'm about to scream, I look up, and there's an SOS button. Eureka! I press the button, error message, out of range. I'm stuck. And now the late afternoon is turning to dusk, and I suddenly feel very, very alone. I'm out of cell phone range with no Wi-Fi. I have no food. I have no water. And then I start to laugh. Is this how I'm going to die? And all of a sudden, my heart rate starts to increase as fear starts pulsing through my body. And I start to dissociate as I start thinking of end-of-day scenarios. And I very quickly realize that fear is not a helpful driver in this situation. Eduardo Felix Placer, level 12 Capricorn, needs to be in charge. Now, it's important in this moment that I need to anchor myself in the present moment. Not what's happening 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now, 5 days from now. And now I run a global public speaking coaching business named Fearless Communicators. I am resourced around fear. And I remember this acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real. So it's time to look at the evidence. Yes, I am stuck on a mountain, and the car is sheltered. I have a full tank of gas, I can run the heater. It is also shelter from wildlife, from the elements, from strangers. I am safe for now. I don't have food. I'm not in danger of starvation anytime soon. I don't have any water, but there's fresh snow all around me. I can chew the snow to stay hydrated. I'm also not injured, I'm not bleeding, I'm not ill, I'm not sick. So I am well right now. And I am alone, but I'm also clear that on the other side of this mountain, at this destination, are people who love me, who will notice that I'm missing, who will send the alarm, and I also all of a sudden feel completely enveloped by the love of my partner, my family, my friends, my community, and I realize that I may be in solitude, but I'm not alone. And then this intention appears. like a prayer, like a mantra. In this moment, you are safe. In this moment, you are well. And in this moment, you are loved. And then I feel my nervous system start to settle. And I take my first full deep breath, which I can feel in the tips of my toes. And for the first time, Eduardo Felix Placer, level 12 Capricorn, is in the driver's seat of this adventure. And then I recall another acronym for fear. Face everything and rise. And I start to consider the best case and the worst case scenarios in this predicament. In the best case, this is the road to the wedding. Someone's bound to come. I'm not the last one to get to this wedding, so surely I will be rescued. Worst case scenario, nobody comes, I freeze to death, I'm mauled by a bear, I go hysterically insane, running up and down this path, I trip, fall into the ravine, and bleed to death. And as I notice, as I'm weighing these best and worst case scenarios, my nervous system has a different response. And I realize with fear and panic and dread, I run the risk of making mistakes. Locking myself out of the car, losing the keys, tripping, falling, injuring myself. Simple mistakes that can prove fatal. And now it's getting dark, and it looks like I may have to spend the night on this mountain. Again, there's news of a polar vortex, of blizzard conditions, and if I'm going to spend the night, I need a strategy. In this moment, I am safe. In this moment, I am well. In this moment, I am loved. And a strategy emerges. The only clear option is to stay with the car. The car is shelter. I have a full tank of gas. I run it with a heater. It's actually very warm and very cozy. I also have a Canada Goose jacket and sorrel boots. I am warm. Action step 2. I put on the hazard lights and the high beams, so if someone comes from the front or from behind, if they fly above, they'll see a car that is stuck, a vehicle that is stuck. And 3, if I have to step out of the car, I have a ritual. I step out of the car, I press the freaky freaky, I put the keys in my pocket, I leave the door open, I tend to my business. I go back inside the car, I close the door, and I press the lock button 5 times because I do not want any unwelcome strangers in this vehicle. And then my nervous system starts to regulate, and the Cuban is needing a siesta. I close my eyes as I recline the seat, and I take a much-needed nap. An hour later, I wake up, and it is now completely and totally dark, and it is starting to snow. In this moment, I am safe. In this moment, I am well. In this moment, I am loved. And as I stare through the windshield at the snow that is falling, I think of my partner in Harlem. He is Colombian. Our entire relationship is in Spanish. And I feel into his fear because he's going to be the first one to clock that something is wrong and that I'm missing. Now, when I travel, we have rhythms of connection. He's the first person I text when I land. He's the person that I text when I get to the venue. He's my last call in the evening. I also send him silly pictures throughout the course of the day so that he messages me saying payaso, which means clown in Spanish. And as I'm feeling into his fear, I grab my cell phone and I open WhatsApp and I start writing him a message. Mi amor, I'm stuck on the way to the wedding, and I am both an optimist and a pragmatist. Y quiero que sepas cuánto te quiero. I want you to know how much I love you. Y el honor que es ser amado por ti, and the profound honor it is to be loved by you. I am scared, I am praying, and I am hopeful for a rescue. And then for the next couple of hours, I write to my parents, to my identical twin, to my sister, to my friends, to my family, to my colleagues, to my team. And these messages start to resemble a prayer. And in my solitude, I feel less alone. I feel the presence of my champions, the sanctuary of their loving embrace, the solace of their gaze, the soothing familiarity of their voice. And at about 2 a.m., I'm really, really tired. I repeat my intention. In this moment, I am safe. In this moment, I am well. In this moment, I am loved. I recline the seat, and I go to sleep. My eyes open at 6 a.m., and I am alive! I step outside of the car, I perform the rituals, I get back inside the car. Best case scenario. Now, clearly there was a blizzard, so any search effort for the evening wouldn't have been able to get started. So I trust that they would have my friends would have woken up at 7 o'clock in the morning, they would have had a sensible breakfast, they would have started coming my way by 8 o'clock in the morning. I am a Capricorn, by the way, I think all of these things through. And then, they're probably maybe 2.5 hours away from me. So if I can just keep my attention and focus to 10:30 in the morning, by then I will be rescued. In this moment I'm safe. In this moment I'm well. In this moment I'm loved. And then I have an idea. I get my notes out. Now I'm a storyteller and a story doula. So I'm like, what a great opportunity to start writing the story of this adventure. And then 9:30 hits, and there's no one. I honk the horn, loud and long. I sit. I wait. I write. 10 o'clock. No one. I honk the horn louder and longer. I sit. I wait. I write. 10:30 a.m. Still no one. I honk the horn even longer and louder. I sit. I wait. I write. 11 o'clock. I honk the horn not as a strategy, but as a refusal. As though I'm telling the mountain, the world, anyone, the mountains, I am still alive. The sea level gay is still here. And then it hits me like a ton of bricks. No one is coming. And now it is time for a new strategy. And I think I have about 6 hours left of daylight. If I leave the car and I go back towards Vale, I may run into a car or a home or something and I will be rescued. Worst case scenario, I walk for 3 hours, I don't run into anyone, and I have 3 hours to make my way back to the car, which is shelter. I'll repeat the same strategy, and I'll have shelter overnight. And then I look at the clock, and it says 11:11. And that's the sign, the signal I have been waiting for. And I put the new strategy into action. I make 3 signs that say my name, who I am, who the car, who's in the car, and I let them know that I'm heading down towards Vale. I make another sign where I put the phone number of my mother and my sister to get a hold of them, and then I also put the numbers of my friends on the wedding, that are at the wedding. I then take my book bag, I get rid of everything that's in the book bag, and I put anything that will keep me warm. Extra socks, thermal underwear, sweaters, gloves. I then take even the little snow brush thingy as a weapon in case I come across wildlife. I step out of the car, I press the freaky, I close the door, and I leave what has been my home and my shelter and my safety for 24 hours. I turn away and I start walking down the mountain. Now, the ground is snowy, it's difficult to make my way through, but after about 30 minutes, it starts clearing and getting easier as I find myself on asphalt. And then everything just kind of opens up. And in the distance, I see movement. two vehicles coming my way, and I start waving my hands up in the air. And as they approach, the officer lowers the window and he says, "Are you Eduardo Placer?" And I say, "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I once was lost, and now I'm found." The officer tells me there have been a lot of people praying for you. He recounts that they did get a notice that I was missing around 9 p.m., but the blizzard and the polar vortex had stalled their search efforts in the evening, that the people on the mountain were acting as mission control, and they were in communication with my partner, with my mother, and with my brother. They then also tell me that they did not believe that I was where I was, that they didn't believe that my car would have gotten as far as it did up that path, and that had I not left at 11:11, it could have taken another day or two for them to rescue me. And as we make our way back up the mountain, because I have to tow that car's going to have to be towed, I recount to them everything that I did to stay alive. And they tell me, "You did everything right." And the officers grab my luggage, like gentlemen, take it down the mountain, and the sea level gay is very satisfied. Because I just passed the mountain gay test with flying colors. And as we make our way to the vehicle, we get into the car, we start driving back towards the Vail Airport. About 20-25 minutes into that, we enter cell phone range, and all my WhatsApp messages make its way through the universe, and I start getting calls, and I speak to my partner, I speak to my parents, I speak to my brother and to my sister. And when we make it to the airport, I have a choice. I can either take the first flight back to New York City, or I can honor the destination that I had set when I arrived, which is to go to the wedding. Now, I am three, a student, a lover, and a performer of Shakespeare. I was a stage actor for 15 years. And if I know something about Shakespeare, is the tragedies end in death, and the comedies end with a wedding. And this story was never a tragedy, this story was always a comedy, because the story always had a destination, and the ending of the story was a wedding. So I rent the car. The police officer and the gentleman from the Forestry Service enter the address into Google Maps, not Waze. They approve the route, and I am on my way. 2.5 hours later, I arrive at the venue, just as the bride and groom are about to say their vows. There's an eruption of joy, relief, love, as I join the circle that is surrounding the couple. My heart is full. I have reached my destination. Mission accomplished. So, my friends, that completes the first part of our experience together. I will receive the applause. Thank you. My name is Eduardo Placer. I am a global keynote speaker, an MC host, and the founder of Fearless Communicators. And I am so honored that for the past 4 or 5 years, I have the privilege of myself and my team doing storytelling workshops and public speaking workshops, and also leading workshops like networking for introverts here at the summit and also at the forum. And I just want to express my profound gratitude to Jean Marie and Jen and the entire Out and Equal team for giving me the privilege of sharing this story on the stage with all of you. And you may be sitting there wondering, wow, Eduardo, that was a harrowing experience. I'm so happy that you're alive. But what does this have to do with Out and Equal, and what does this have to do with me? And now I'm going to nerd out about storytelling for a moment. What you just witnessed, what we were just in, is the ritual of theater. You as an audience watching a storyteller on a stage. And theater comes from the ancient Greek word theatron, which means a place for seeing. So yes, we do go to the theater to watch stories and stories being told, but in its most magical, purest essence, what this is a mirror. The story is not about me, it is through me. And the opportunity is for you as an audience to locate yourself in the story. And I imagine many of you have probably felt figuratively stuck on a mountain without food, water, and Wi-Fi over the past year and change. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the framework of this story and this adventure as an opportunity to locate ourselves in a time, a place in your career, in your job where you may feel stuck. And see if we can get some movement, if we can get a course of action that has us in the driver's seat so we can reach that destination, what we're committed to.